What is non-doership? First, let me clarify what non-doership is not. Non-doership is not sitting on the couch doing nothing. Non-doership is not sitting in a meditation position doing nothing. Non-doership is not just simply sitting still all day. This is not non-doership. When the mind hears non-doership, that's the type of imagery and concept that it constructs. Oh, non-doership. Oh, okay, sure. So let me just do nothing. Let me just sit still and do nothing. This is non-doership. It's not that. Non-doership is the realization that the me that I believe to be is not the separate agent that is controlling the actions that are happening with this body-mind. And I know that doesn't probably make sense to you, because you might be thinking, well, of course, I can move my arms, I can drink tea when I want to, and I can brush my teeth, and I can think about thoughts. But if we really examine this, we see that, no, we aren't the separate self that is doing these actions. We realize that the actions are being done, but there is no separate agent that is in control of the actions. We see that thoughts are happening, but there's no thinker of the thoughts. And this is what the mind doesn't like to hear, because this is the belief in the me. This is really the ego, which is not a separate entity. And that's how it's so illusionary, because it appears like there's a separate me somewhere in this body, maybe right behind the eyes, that's controlling all the actions, right? It's not operating this body like a robot where it's controlling it. It's not in my brain selecting thoughts, right? Like it's selecting books off of a bookshelf. It's not selecting anything. Thoughts are simply arising and falling. Thoughts are appearing and disappearing. Thoughts are coming and going spontaneously, just like actions are done spontaneously. There's no separate me that is in control. So it doesn't discard that there's activity. It's not, non-doership is not denying that there's activity. There's activity that is happening, of course, but there's no separate self that is controlling that activity. It's the activity of the whole. So everything that you see or experience, the wind, the sun shining, the trees moving, the dog barking, the traffic, you walking to work, drinking coffee, someone else steps in a puddle, all these different things, it's all the one activity. There's no separate doer in each physical form that you see that is controlling everything. A better way to explain it is by looking at the ocean. If you believe to be a wave in the ocean, you are believing to be a separate form with a name, a wave. So it appears like you have a form, right? Big wave arising out of the ocean. That's a big wave. That's a small wave. That's a medium-sized wave. So different forms, and they appear to be separate from each other. There's a wave over there. There's a wave over there. There's a wave over, and here I am. I'm this wave. So I appear to be separate from all the other waves. And also, I'm moving. There's a lot of change that's happening in me. I'm getting bigger. I'm curling. There's some bubbles. There's a white cap. All these different things are changing. And I seem to be moving somewhere. But if we look at the reality of the wave, meaning what is the wave made of, we see that the wave is made of the one ocean. That actually the activity that the wave thinks that it's doing, it thinks that it's moving, it thinks that it's the controller of the movement. We see that that's false, that's illusionary, because it's the one ocean that is actually creating that activity. In fact, the wave is the activity of the one ocean. But there's no separate doer of the wave. There's no separate doer that's in the wave that's controlling the movement. The belief in being a separate wave, thinking that you are controlling your size, your height, your speed, would be totally delusional. Because it's the one ocean that's in all waves that are creating the activity. It's the one ocean that is waving. So when this is seen very clearly, we see that there's no separate doer that's in here that's thinking thoughts, selecting what to say, what not to say, selecting actions. It's just this is all happening. All of this activity, the speaking, the listening, everything else going on in the present moment is all the one activity that is arising out of the one source. And this is where the mind doesn't like to hear that. What are you trying to say? I don't exist? Not as a separate self, not as an individual self. As the universal self, yes, of course. You exist as a universal self, but you don't exist as a separate character that seems to be in control of your life. There's no such thing as your life. You don't have a life. You are life. There's one life. There's not separate lives. There's just one life. And you are that.